Whoops, hang on. I forgot to turn my mic on. Sorry guys, sorry about that. Forgot to put my audio on, and I got my comments off on the thing. So anyway, let me just kind of recap here. Sponsoring our video today is Hail 911. I'm sure you guys are able to read what's on there. It's an American-based call center. Check out the new state-of-the-art call center. Over 50 call stations, over 100 employees, and get more higher quality leads with Hail 911. The numbers here in red, also scrolling at the bottom of the screen, to give them a call for more if you want to get those hot leads, especially when you get big storms coming in probably sometime this week. I'll talk about that in just a few minutes here. Check out their new state-of-the-art call center that they have up in Chicago and get that going, and I hope get all that in there. Again, thanks to them for sponsoring our video today, which is the 2018 hail season forecast update and 12 p.m. hail forecast. Again, I apologize, forgot to turn my mic on, trying to make sure I didn't have a hot mic before we got started. So, my bad, guys. Anyway, so we're jumping in now with the notifications. Make sure you have those set up. Thankfully, I caught the audio was off until before I got to any important details. This is just our daily little reminder, get those notifications set up. There's going to be a lot of activity this week, so really make sure you guys have that turned on and get your notifications, whether your push notifications through your email or on your desktop computer, the regions, certain cities you want to be notified for, such as Chicago, entire states, or the entire nation. So make sure you have that set up so you don't miss any important updates that we have between now and through the end of the week. So with that, I'm going to jump right into the 2018 updated hail forecast. I know if you guys watched our previous forecast, we have this whole long-winded thing before we get to it. This, not so much. You guys kind of know what's already happening. We've pretty much seen what's happened across April. Record slow start. Was very surprising. We talked about that in a video a couple weeks ago about the sudden stratospheric warming causing this massive blocking, and it was hard to predict. It happened only it was showing up on the models about 5 days before it actually happened, which was about a month after I did my forecast already, which, you know, kind of screws up the whole system. And even with it being a record slow start, it's going to heavily affect our totals. The season looks like it's going to be really backloaded. I mean, at this point, if you have pretty much anything, it's going to be backloaded compared to how slow April especially was. And it looks like spring is going to switch. The little flip in the switch is going to happen this week. So starting today, honestly, and especially tomorrow and moving forward, focus of most activity is expected to pretty much be from the Red River north into Canada and then east into the Great Lakes. You'll have the map up here just a second to kind of give you an idea. Yes, that sounds like not much in Texas, but honestly, this is going from May through the end of July. And I do have a mention of Canada in here. And Texas tends to kind of wind down by the end of May. So when only one of the 3 months is going to be really involved, it's kind of hard to say that they're going to be a main focus. Overall, I think we're going to have a very active second half of the spring. So you're going to need to see that this week. There will be a little bit of a break after this week, and I think the second half of May is also going to be pretty active. And I think June's going to be really active as well. However, it's not really going to make up for lost time. I think the United States is going to be just around average or just below average. Again, April is one of the core months for large hail, and the fact that we had a very slow start, we need to have some crazy stuff to happen, especially in July, to make up for the lost time. And I really just, on a numbers standpoint, I don't think we're going to get there. So that is what we're looking at right now. The probabilities of the storm season. So I'd say about 45% below average, 45% above. And then, oh, that should have been 10%. That was my bad. I messed up the math there. About 10% above average. There's that small chance that maybe somehow we manage to squeak out a couple really intense systems that could pop us up above average, but that has really low chances. I honestly would have to have an active fall to maybe make up for what we didn't have across April. And here is the all-important map that you guys, I know, are probably going to take some screenshots of. I'll probably step off the camera in a second here. What I have here, I was going to say below average for across the Northeast and the Great Lakes, but looking at analog years that we have that kind of sort of match up to this, there has been fairly average activity. It doesn't take a lot to have average activity across, especially the Northeast, but I'm kind of holding on average there for places like Ohio and Pennsylvania. I mean, hey, Ohio's even had some storms already this year, so that really helps out. Above average, and yes, I do include Canada, even though my graphic doesn't get up there. This includes like Calgary, up towards Winnipeg, and I think Regina is another city up in there. I don't know Canada super well. We do some Canada stuff. A lot of you guys have been asking about Canada. And I think you're going to have a pretty busy season across the Northern Plains. We've had to continue to have a very progressive pattern across the United States. Even with that blocking that was in place, that blocking is now going away, and you're going to see the activity really tick up now that we have some moisture. And I think that's just going to kind of continue once we head into July. Like, Canada doesn't really get going until July, so I think that's what we're going to expect. Very end of June and most of July. Probably pretty active across Canada. I know in terms of big cities getting hit, it's really kind of a needle in a haystack situation. So above average overall for there. No change for the Denver area, average activity. That's pretty much the same every single year. You guys are kind of immune to any other crazy stuff, so I'm keeping you just average activity for this year. You guys, storm season, Colorado, you're going to kind of probably kick into gear at some point this month, and then you can go through July. Again, you don't need the big systems kicking out like the rest of the country does. You just need the wind blowing the right way to go up mountains and give you that lift. So I think Denver will see some storms. I have below average. My below average has extended a lot more than just the little circle I had before. Probably up through a lot of western Kansas, good chunk of Texas now at this point. And then I have the purple over here, the activity all here in the purple. That's going to end in June. So I think just the southeast, you're probably going to see some more storms. But once we get towards towards June, it's really going to start to calm down because of seasonal variances. Your storm season's over by then. It just gets too hot, and all the jet stream moves too far to the north. With that, the most activity overall, it's kind of seasonally normal. Starting now, like down in here in Oklahoma, Dallas area, you'll still see quite a bit of activity probably this month. Hopefully you can get a couple more really good storms to come in. I know you guys every single day ask about Fort Worth, and we'll see if that can happen. I think Oklahoma, your season's turning on tomorrow. Probably in northwestern Oklahoma, and then central Oklahoma probably Wednesday and Thursday. And then Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, even up towards Minneapolis, Chicago, all you guys, you're going to start seeing activity this week. And then as we get closer, more towards June and then to June and July, you'll see a lot more activity happening there. It's where most of the storms are going to probably be focused on. Whether or not it ends up being above average, average, below average, that's the big question right now. I'd say most activity as in probably around average activity for the area, maybe some pockets of above average activity depending if some areas can get hit pretty good. So that's what we're looking at. This is the map that we have. I realized I don't have the comments on the screen because I knew that they were going to kind of get in the way of this map. So I got to look at my phone, answer any questions you guys may have. Let's see. Okay, cool. Jack posted some stuff on here too. All right, let me scroll back. Okay, you guys making fun of me for not having the thing on. That was loud as hell so far. Put that script. Okay. I said Regina. It's a Regina, one of those. When should Mid-Atlantic storm season start? Asked Samuel. Probably, I'd have to say, for Mid-Atlantic is about the same as New England, and I know from just growing up in Connecticut, things don't really turn on until June. If that turn on, and the Northeast doesn't get a lot of storms. But I think very end of May, June, and especially July is when you get most of your activity from probably Maryland points north. So that's what we're looking at for there. Wichita, honestly, I'm going to talk to a lot of this stuff I'm going to talk about conveniently with setup that is for this week. You're going to notice that this red area, when I do my forecast for just the remainder of this week, for all of this week, is going to have a lot of focus in on here. So I'll get into that in just a minute. And otherwise, yeah, okay. So with that, I'm going to move over. I still have my bold predictions. Bold predictions too. Go bold or go home. I'm sticking to my guns with the fact that there will still be a high-end severe weather event that verifies the high-risk category from the Storm Prediction Center. I think this week could do it. And if not, I think there might be a couple more setups in May that could really get what could be a high-risk event. Along with that, I think I-35 corridor is going to hit with a major hailstorm in an area other than Dallas. Dallas has already had a couple major, it's had at least one major hailstorm, one of the only major hailstorms of this year so far. But I think this week we might get one possibly in Kansas City, Omaha. I know Omaha is not I-35, but it's close. And then Wichita, Oklahoma City, even up towards Minneapolis, another I-35 corridor city. we also have, these are my we'll get a big hail event cities. I said Oklahoma City, I'm still rooting for you. Minneapolis, I've replaced Nashville with Minneapolis. I think Nashville's chances are probably not as good for my bold prediction. Kansas City and or Chicago. So again, these are not guarantees, just based on analogs, overdue events, and experience. Obviously, I've already had to remove one of my pick cities for a bold prediction. So I'm really kind of hitting home with the I-35 corridor with all of this. So that is what we're looking at here. And now I'm going to jump over, kind of shift gears quite a bit. Oh, wait, I forgot I had the GIF there. I'm going to shift gears quite a bit. I know I'm a little bit delayed on here. So if anybody has any further questions, I can answer those. But I think I'm going to shift over to just today's hail forecast. Still sponsored by Hail 911. So looks like we have a pretty large area of hail possible. Pretty much going from Mexico almost to Canada. I mean, hey, I'm sure once you get to this part of Minnesota, it's almost Canada anyway, right? So it looks like that we're going to have a couple areas of storms we're going to focus in on. The biggest hail, I think, is going to be in the Texas Panhandle today. I have 5% for Lubbock. Amarillo, I don't have a percentage. I think storms are going to form just to your east. And if not, it might form right on top of you, and that makes that hail kind of smaller. So 5% Lubbock, I'd say probably about 5% is 2% maybe for Amarillo, just because I think it's going to be just to the east of you guys. Derek and Frank are out storm chasing today. We're also taking our newbie Melissa with us as well. They'll be out. They'll be streaming on any events here. Hopefully they can get up to that baseball size hail. Any storms that form probably from just north of Dodge City, Kansas, all the way down to towards Midland, Odessa. Those are going to be your biggest hail producers, upwards of baseball size hail. Dodge City, I have a 10% for you guys. Could be some other storms as well later on this evening. So these are going to fire around after 5. I think this will be after about 7 or so in Nebraska. I think those storms that form here, 10%, this is Grand Island and North Platte put together, kind of squeezed them together even when they're far apart from each other geographically. 10% there. This is up golf ball size hail, maybe up to 2-inch size hail in here. And then this is going to be probably after about 7, 8 o'clock tonight. And then other storms even later tonight, I think you can probably see maybe even up to some ping pong ball size hail within here. If we do get an individual cell further north into South Dakota, into Minnesota, then you could even see bigger hail than that, but those chances are a lot lower, hence the 2% for Sioux Falls. There will be storms in this area. I just don't know any major cities in there to put my little percentages on. So a big area today. This is the first day in a series of days that we're going to see some large hail, and also possibly some tornadoes. And again, Derek and Frank will be chasing. They'll stream within Facebook on our Facebook page here at Hail Trace, so you guys can obviously check that out as well. Okay, anybody else? Okay, bring it to Northern Illinois. So anyway, so that's what we're expecting for today. Pushing forward now is my look-ahead map for tomorrow. My preliminary forecast that I have right now. It extends pretty much from the Red River up into Wisconsin. 2 different areas that we're really focusing in on. You see, obviously your eyes go directly to the purple. This is going to be storms along a dry line in western Oklahoma and up into Kansas. The more conditional chances in Oklahoma. I think the cap will in fact break. That thing that stops storms from forming, the capping inversion. I think this will break tomorrow. 1 or 2 storms form, maybe towards like Woodward or maybe towards Elk City, like way western Oklahoma. But any storms that go up there, they could be huge. Any within our purple area, up to 3.5-inch hail is possible. Big time storms when they do form. Wichita, you guys are probably you're just far enough to the east where you'll be watching storms rolling in. We'll happen to see whether or not they actually hit you guys will be the big question. Kansas City, I had you in my main risk a few days ago. I think you're a little too far east to where the main activity is going to be tomorrow. However, Omaha, you guys are going to be right by the triple point. The triple point is where the warm front, cold front, and dry line come together. And that's usually where the most forcing for a big storm is going to be. So in between Grand Island and Lincoln, Omaha, all you guys I have possibly as my pick city for tomorrow. Again, really big hail possible. This will be in the evening. And then down through central Kansas as well. And the more isolated, the further south you get into Oklahoma. And now over here, we see just south and east of Minneapolis into Wisconsin, most of Iowa. These storms are going to form probably after about 8 or 9 o'clock tomorrow along a warm front. And these could also have pretty large hail, about up to golf ball 2-inch size hail with that as well. So that's what you're looking at for Tuesday. And now we go to Wednesday and Thursday. I don't have this particular map ready yet. We're still kind of too far out for me to start saying where I think the biggest hail is going to be, more just areas of concern. And this is going to be for Wednesday. I think Wednesday's going to be, do I have that popping up there? There you go. The significant severe threat. So I know if you guys watch local news or you just peruse Facebook, you can follow AccuWeather or the Weather Channel or something. There's been a lot of hype up for Wednesday already. Probably a very significant severe weather events possible on Wednesday. Whether or not that actually pans out, we'll see as it gets closer, or if it hits the stratospheric levels that some people are hyping it up to be. But I do think there is a significant, so there's my overall area of concern, and then my significant severe threat possible. So places pretty much down from Wichita Falls, Texas, up through Kansas City. I think you guys could see some pretty intense storms, especially in Kansas. Kansas City, Wichita, I think Wednesday is your best day for seeing some really big time storms. Oklahoma City and Tulsa have you highlighted in here. Tulsa, I don't know if you guys are going to get really big time storms. In Oklahoma City, it's going to come down to where the dry line sets up. I have a pretty broad area right now. We're still quite a few days out. 3 days out is more than enough time for if the dry line shifts 50 miles to the east, suddenly much closer to Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is in play for some really big storms on Wednesday. Shifts 50 miles to the west and goes to the Texas-Oklahoma border. Chances are by the time storms get to Oklahoma City, they're not going to have as much juice as they do when they form over by, say, closer to Lawton. So that's why we have a pretty wide area right now. Significant severe, so this could be up to softball size hail in the strongest storms here, possibly some violent tornadoes. I know I don't want to whip out the violent tornadoes phrase very much, but it is possible. I do have Dallas in the risk on Wednesday. I don't think that's going to be your best chance. It's more just I'm kind of covering all my bases because we don't have a real idea of exactly where the dry line is going to set up. And if it does shift closer to I-35, then obviously that could bring Dallas into play. I think storms will fire all the way down towards Mexico on Wednesday, so a lot of western Texas. And then the warm front, I think, is going to have some pretty intense storms as well. More hailers than tornado makers. Probably not softball size hail, but I think Chicago area and lots of northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, I think you guys could see some pretty big storms on Wednesday as well. So a very wide array of an area that could be affected by some big time storms on Wednesday. I'll have more details on all of this tomorrow as well for our daily 12 p.m. updates. And now we shift over our attention to Wednesday. And I think Wednesday could be, or not Wednesday, Thursday could be a much bigger event for just the I-35 corridor. Depending on how Wednesday pans out, we could have the dry line pretty much straddling I-35, so just west of I-35 likely, so it puts Oklahoma City in the danger zone. That puts Dallas's chance really well. I know San Antonio is right at the bottom of my screen. I think all the way down I-35 towards San Antonio can see some storms. Arkansas, most of the state of Missouri, so Kansas City and St. Louis, and then even up towards Chicago again on Thursday. Now these starting to get a little more broad, getting a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not as confident, just because we have to see how Wednesday pans out. If we have a big squall line form, or if the storms die out pretty quick Wednesday night and we're able to reset the atmosphere, then we could have a pretty explosive development on Thursday. And of course, that would be much more of interest for probably a lot of you guys who watch, because this is a much more densely populated part of the country than, say, shifted west a little bit more. So if you're watching from the Dallas area or other parts of Texas, Oklahoma City, and Tulsa, Wednesday, Thursday is your best bet. Dallas down towards San Antonio. Thursday is probably your best bet. Up towards Chicago, probably Wednesday, possibly Thursday. And then Minneapolis, possibly tomorrow, if we can get things to shift a little bit further north. And then Kansas City, you are at risk tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then St. Louis, probably Thursday. So that is what we are looking at. Is Joplin in that area of concern? That says Astral. For Thursday, probably more so than Wednesday. I think Wednesday you guys are going to be too far to the east. Okay. DFW, I think that answered that question. Any other questions you guys have, I can answer them. This is where my forecast is going to end. I don't have anything for Friday yet. Not going to lie, Friday is looking kind of messy, kind of hard to really pinpoint what's going to happen there. So we're going to have to go through quite a few days of activity first before we can start pinpointing Friday. And then beyond that, I think we're going to have a little bit period of quiet weather. There's going to be a pretty big ridge that gets put to place in the western United States. So it'll be nice and warm, but there won't be any storms for at least 3 or 4 days. And then I think things are going to reset and get going again closer towards May 15th. So that is what we're looking at. And Joplin area Thursday, not Wednesday, as we're looking at there. So that's all we have. I know I went over a whole lot today, guys. I can take a chance to answer any questions you may have. I'm not going to take the time to go over the models today, mainly because it is a much longer video, so I don't want to make the video even longer. So I think hopefully this kind of highlights what we're expecting. If for some reason there's any intense storms that are heading towards a population center today, like if a storm hits Lubbock or Amarillo, possibly maybe even Dodge City, I don't know if they're quite big enough for me to do that. I'll do live continuing coverage like we always do when storms go into larger metro areas. Same deal for tomorrow, and obviously Wednesday and Thursday, any storms that I'll try to do as much live coverage as deemed possible. Tomorrow, with people storm chasing, it's going to be a little bit more short-staffed here, so I'm really going to save that live coverage until there's something imminently about to be hit. And follow Derek doing live storm chasing today and tomorrow. He'll be doing probably all his live videos through the Hail Trace Facebook, so check out those live streams. Hopefully you can get into some good hail, maybe even some tornadoes the next couple of days. All right, so it doesn't seem like I have too many comments or questions, so I'm going to just kind of push on forward and say don't miss our updates and follow us on Facebook. If it's your first time watching, you got linked here from somebody sharing our video. Go ahead and follow and hit see first. We pop at the top of your news feed, so that way if you miss our push notifications, you won't miss out on our live videos. They'll pop up as soon as you go on Facebook, and these do replay. You're able to view them after they are live. And so if you're watching when it's not live, you go ahead and put a comment section below, and we'll hopefully check back and answer any questions you may have. You can also give us a call, email us, or visit us at hailtrace.com. Any comments, questions, or concerns you may have, inquiries about our services, do you want to sponsor one of these videos, give us a call, 855-334-4245, email us, or if you go on hailtrace.com, on the lower right hand of our website, there's a little blue circle icon with a speech bubble on the inside of it. You click on that and it'll bring up an instant messenger. Type that out and it'll send a message out to everyone on staff, so we can answer your questions pretty quickly there, especially on weekends and after hours when we may not be at the office to answer the phone. Well, we'll definitely answer those pretty quickly. It's a pretty popular way that people are messaging us now. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Again, big thanks to Hail 911. Give them a call. Again, their number has been scrolling at the bottom of the screen through most of this video. If you have any need for some high-quality leads, we can vouch for them. We've been working with them for quite a while. So again, big thanks to them for sponsoring this video, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday. Chances are we won't be doing any live streaming here for continuing coverage for big-time storms. It's probably a pretty rural area today, but do check back and see Derek doing live streaming for storm chasing, and we'll be back again tomorrow at 12 p.m. for another hail forecast. Have a great rest of your Monday, everybody, and I'll see you again tomorrow.